So there's a lot of talk about what Bitcoin is and what it isn't. And Bitcoin is a pretty complex topic, but it's also pretty simple as well. And so you see people getting kind of worked up, and you see mainstream take false narratives and really run with them. So I sort of like to be, I'm old now. I can claim the old card. I'm 49, pushing 50, and I've been around the block a few times. Like you said, I'm a doctor, and I'm, run a hedge fund, and so I've experienced a few things in my life. So, anyways, Bitcoin is awesome, and it's so fun to be a part of it at its inception. To me, it's about the equivalent of two different things. It's like the inception of the internet, and watching that progress, and watching everybody make fun of it initially, and say it's just used by criminals and it has no real use case other than electronic mail, and what the heck is that? Like, I was in college when email came out, and I was like, what the heck is this? Like, but it was kind of cool, and that's about all I saw. And so watching normies in mainstream not understand what Bitcoin is or where it's going, to me, is just super humorous. And it can be frustrating at times, right? And Brandon, I know you're a great teacher in this space as well. And so we spend a lot of time just kind of helping normies figure out what's going on and why we think it's such a big deal. The other thing that I think it's like being a part of it, and this sounds excessive, but I believe it. I think it's like being the founding fathers hanging out at coffee shops before the American Revolution started, and kind of laying the groundwork for a new America. That's what I think this is. Like, that's how significant I think this is I think this is a world-changing technology, and we get to be a part of this paradigm shift. And so I try to remember that too. Like, I spend my time teaching people, and a lot of people ask, like, why I'm so into this. Like, I'm a Christian, like, I got lots of other stuff, I got lots of things on my plate. Why do I spend so much time talking about this stupid thing, all the time? It's because I think we are literally at the precipice of a new world. It's a paradigm shift. And so to me, this is extremely important, and it's extremely important to help people understand what's going on. And ideally, they can get in at the ground level and help to build this, and help to build this better world. I like the way Michael Saylor talks about engineering a better tomorrow. A lot of engineers think like that. Like, let's be optimistic, and let's think about where the world can go and all the implications. And so it requires people to spend a little time thinking about this. So that's why I have the views that I have, and why I talk about Bitcoin so much. Getting back to your question about my tweet, I brought it up because Michael Saylor brought it up yesterday. He was on an interview on CNBC with Andrew Ross Sorkin, and they're, who's definitely a Bitcoin skeptic. And Saylor does an awesome job at remaining winsome and optimistic and not being confrontational. I love that about him, and I have a lot to learn. My other kind of hero in that way is Jeff Booth. They both just have this relentless optimism. They don't get dragged down. I can get dragged down and go start fighting the normies, and that's just not very productive, right? It just turns into a screaming match, and people calling each other stupid and things like that. So what I like about him is just his way of thinking about things, and helping people think about Bitcoin not as a trade or as a speculative asset, but as a long-term savings vehicle. So his push yesterday was quit thinking of Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, as a cryptocurrency, as basically it continues to get labeled as. Think of it as a store of value. And I say this all the time, and Brandon, we've talked about this forever. The biggest problem the world faces today is the store of value problem. Why? Because government fiat currencies literally exist to steal the purchasing power of their citizens. So the reason we've seen the largest centralized nation states, the most powerful nation states in the history of the world over the last 50 years or so, is, I think, completely because of fiat currencies that are controlled by the government. Why does that matter? Because they basically control inflation. They control the rate of debasement of their citizens, meaning they're stealing the purchasing power of their citizens over time. They're collecting all those benefits that we should be seeing as humanity, as citizens. We should be seeing this benefit of ever decreasing prices, because as humanity and technology progress, we should see those benefits, and that should be reflected in lower prices and a higher quality of life. That's not happening. Why? Because the government methodically, and I'm not even like a government conspiracy guy, I'm not a tinfoil hat guy, I just don't care usually about most government stuff, but they literally, because of the design of fiat currency, are stealing our purchasing power, and they have been for many, many decades. They get ever bigger, ever stronger, ever more powerful, while we get the shaft, right? We're on these hamster wheels, working our butts off forever and ever, dreaming of some retirement someday, which most people will never experience because life is getting more and more expensive. So That's why I make such a big deal about Bitcoin. Where are we right now? There are 4 phases basically for a society to accept a new form of money. All forms of money. And Saifedean Ammous does a great job on this, and other authors have talked about this, like in their history of money books. But it generally goes through 4 phases. A form of money starts as a collectible, then it turns into a store of value, then it becomes a medium of exchange, widely accepted, and then it becomes a unit of account for, like, on a personal, business, and nation state level. I think this is what Michael Saylor is alluding to, people are pushing the Bitcoin narrative too far, too fast. They're kind of talking about it, oh, what an amazing medium of exchange it is. Lightning is everywhere. It's awesome. And I would push back on that. And I have, just being realistic, right? I'm a fanatical Bitcoiner. But it is not a ubiquitous medium of exchange. It still has a lot of kinks to work out. It's getting there, and it's being developed. And from talking to people like Jeff Booth and Lynn Alden and Preston Pish, and they're part of Ego Death Capital and other venture capital type people, that is all being built out right now. And so we will see that medium of exchange component be built out. But right now we are firmly in step 2, and that's the store of value phase. And what's fun for me, and it's probably because I come from Wall Street initially, that's where I came to Bitcoin way back in 2015, because Wall Street is officially embracing it as a store of value. Larry Fink gets on CNBC and Bloomberg TV all the time and talks about it as being a store of value. It should protect, or it may protect against government debasement. And so consider Bitcoin as basically the store of value that you've always needed and always wanted. And then my final thing, and I'm sorry, I'm just going on off a huge tangent. We can take it in different directions. But why I call the store of value the biggest problem humanity faces, we've seen this being reflected in the valuations across the board of different asset classes. So as a hedge fund manager, I'm always looking across different asset classes and looking for where there is value, potential investments, things like that, things that are overvalued and things to avoid. The store of value problem has found its way into, and when I say the store of value problem, I'm talking about the monetary debasement problem that all humans face. Their goal, all of our goals from a financial standpoint, is to work and to preserve our purchasing power and hopefully grow our purchasing power over time, so we can actually pay the bills for ourselves and our spouses and our kids and our grandkids and things like that. Like, that's what we're all in general striving for. And fiat government currency takes away that from us. It takes away our desire. It doesn't take our desire. It takes away our ability to do that effectively. And so that store of value premium, the monetary premium, has been placed across multiple asset classes. So we see these large premiums on stocks, real estate, this real estate bubble where things have been getting wildly overvalued, and people are using houses as speculations, as ways to preserve and grow their purchasing power. That's crazy if you really take a step back. I think we're going to look back 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now and look back and be like, can you believe people used to like trade houses? Like, they would buy them and sell them for a profit. Like, that's crazy, right? Like, what people really need is shelter, affordable shelter. And the millennial and Gen Z cohorts have basically been priced out of the housing market. And that's actually a tragedy. That has huge consequences on society. And so that's just one of the ways that this whole store of value problem has found its way into other asset classes. You also see it in private equity. We saw it in bonds actually as well. So anyways,
if you like that clip, then you definitely got to check out this next spicy clip. I think you're really going to like it. Come on, check it out. But if you want the full version, the full interview, check that out over here. Come on, do it. I'll see you in there.